Hello there, and welcome to the Sleep Journal. Tonight, we are going to travel somewhere you will never actually visit, no matter how far you travel in your life. The deep ocean, not the shallow, sunlit water near a beach, where waves catch the light and fish dart between coral. Far below that, past the point where sunlight can reach at all, there is a place of permanent darkness, permanent cold, and permanent, crushing pressure, stretching for miles in every direction. And yet, even there, in that vast, lightless world, something is always falling. Slowly, gently, endlessly. Scientists call it marine snow. It is not frozen water, and it does not fall from any sky. It is a soft, continuous drift of tiny particles, dead plankton, bits of mucus, fragments of shell, and other organic debris, sinking down from the sunlit waters far above, drifting through the darkness like snowflakes caught in a windless night. Some of these particles take only a few days to reach the bottom. Others take weeks, tumbling gently through the water, growing larger as they fall, collecting more and more material along the way. And far below, in the permanent dark of the seafloor, an entire ecosystem waits quietly for this slow, patient snowfall to arrive. Because for most creatures living in the deepest parts of the ocean, marine snow is not just scenery, it is dinner. Tonight, we are going to follow that snow. From the moment a single microscopic particle begins its long fall, through the Twilight Zone, where strange, glowing creatures drift and wait, all the way down to the seafloor, where it finally settles, sometimes after a journey lasting years. Before we begin, if evenings like this help you unwind, feel free to like, subscribe, or leave a gentle comment below. It helps other tired minds find their way here. But for now, there is nothing you need to do. Let your jaw unclench. Let your shoulders drop. Let your breathing slow down into something easy and unhurried, the way marine snow drifts, unhurried, through miles of quiet water. And as your mind begins to soften, join me. Let us begin. Oceanographers first noticed this phenomenon in the early 20th century, while using primitive submersibles to explore the deep sea for the very first time. Peering out through small, thick windows into water lit only by their own vessel's lights, researchers described watching a constant, gentle drift of pale particles passing by, endlessly, in every direction, exactly like snow falling silently through the beam of a streetlight on a winter night. The name stuck immediately, and has remained in use by scientists ever since. A simple, poetic description for a process that turns out to be one of the most important and least understood systems on our entire planet. It is worth pausing for a moment on just how strange it is that something this constant, this fundamental to the functioning of the entire ocean, remained essentially unknown to science until so recently in human history. People have sailed across oceans for thousands of years, fished in their waters, studied their tides and currents in extraordinary detail. And yet the deep interior of the ocean, the vast majority of its total volume, remained almost entirely unexplored until submersibles finally made it possible to descend safely into that permanent darkness. What those early explorers found was not an empty void, as many had long assumed. It was a world quietly, patiently alive, sustained from above by this constant, gentle rain of organic material, connecting the productive, sunlit surface to the darkest, most remote corners of the entire planet. Tonight, we are simply going to sit with that discovery for a while, letting its slow, patient rhythm settle into your own body, as your own day gently comes to an end. To understand where marine snow comes from, we need to start near the surface of the ocean, in the sunlit layer where nearly all marine life ultimately begins. There, countless microscopic organisms called phytoplankton drift through the water, using sunlight to grow, in much the same way that plants on land use sunlight to grow. These phytoplankton are consumed by tiny animals called zooplankton, which are in turn eaten by small fish, which are eaten by larger fish, in a food chain that eventually supports nearly every creature in the ocean, including the very largest whales. But at every single step of that food chain, waste is produced. Dead phytoplankton that were never eaten, fecal pellets from zooplankton and fish, discarded mucus structures, shed skin, and the remains of countless small creatures that lived brief, quiet lives near the surface, and then died, sinking slowly downward once their short time in the sunlight had ended. Individually, each of these particles is almost impossibly small, often invisible to the naked eye, and far too light to sink quickly on its own. But something remarkable happens as these particles drift downward through the water column. They begin to collide with each other and stick together, held by thin strands of sticky mucus, produced naturally by many of the organisms that died to create this debris in the first place. Slowly, over hours and days, tiny individual particles clump together into larger and larger aggregates, sometimes growing to several centimeters across, visible now to the naked eye, resembling pale, loosely structured flakes, tumbling gently downward as they continue to grow. Scientists have found that these aggregates are remarkably complex in their own quiet way, often containing thousands of individual bacteria living within the aggregate itself, slowly breaking down the organic material as it falls, releasing nutrients back into the surrounding water at every depth it passes through. In this sense, a single flake of marine snow is not simply debris drifting passively downward. It is closer to a tiny, temporary ecosystem, forming, evolving, and slowly dissolving, all within the span of a single, patient journey toward the ocean floor. Some flakes never complete that journey at all, consumed along the way by one of the countless creatures drifting through the darkness of the mid-ocean, waiting quietly for exactly this kind of meal to drift past. The size of these aggregates varies enormously, from particles barely large enough to notice, all the way up to loosely structured flakes several centimeters across, some of the largest ever recorded stretching to nearly the size of a human hand, though these larger aggregates are typically quite fragile, held together by little more than delicate strands of mucus, easily broken apart by even gentle currents or the slightest physical disturbance. Scientists studying these aggregates closely have described them as remarkably porous, more air, or rather water, than solid material, in much the same way that a snowflake on land is mostly empty space between its delicate branching crystals. This porous structure actually serves an important function, allowing water, and the oxygen dissolved within it, to flow freely through the aggregate, supporting the dense communities of bacteria living inside, while also slowing the aggregate's overall rate of descent, giving those same bacteria more time to do their patient, quiet work of gradually breaking the material down as it falls. Researchers have also discovered that the shape and structure of these aggregates can change meaningfully depending on the specific mix of organisms contributing to them. Aggregates formed primarily from diatoms, with their rigid glass-like shells, tend to be denser and more angular, while those formed largely from soft-bodied organisms and mucus tend to be looser and more irregular in shape, resembling something closer to a delicate, translucent cloud than a solid, well-defined particle. This variety means that no two flakes of marine snow are ever quite identical, each one carrying its own particular history, its own particular mixture of organisms and debris, gathered together, quite literally, by chance, as it drifted downward through whatever patch of water happened to be its path. The journey a single flake of marine snow takes from the surface to the seafloor is far longer, and far slower, than most people would ever guess. In the deepest parts of the ocean, the seafloor can lie more than 6 kilometers below the surface, an almost unimaginable distance for something as small and delicate as a flake of drifting organic debris. Larger, denser aggregates, held together tightly enough to resist breaking apart, might sink at a rate of 100 to 200 meters per day, reaching the deepest parts of the ocean floor within a few weeks. But many flakes are far more fragile, breaking apart gently as they fall, slowing their own descent considerably, sometimes taking many months, or even more than a year, to complete the same journey. Ocean currents complicate this further, gently pushing and pulling these slow-falling particles sideways as they sink, meaning that a flake of marine snow that began its life near one particular patch of surface water might eventually settle onto the seafloor many miles away from where it started, carried gradually off course by currents moving far above the depths where it will eventually come to rest. This entire patient process is sometimes called the biological pump, and it plays an absolutely critical role in the chemistry of our entire planet. As phytoplankton grow near the surface, they absorb carbon dioxide from the surrounding water, in the same way that plants on land absorb carbon dioxide from the air. When those phytoplankton, and the animals that ate them, eventually die and sink as marine snow. They carry that carbon downward with them, away from the surface, and away from the atmosphere above the ocean. Some of that carbon is released again, as marine snow slowly decomposes on its way down, but a meaningful fraction survives all the way to the seafloor, where it can remain locked away in ocean sediment for thousands, or even millions of years. Scientists estimate that this slow, patient process of falling marine snow transports several billion tons of carbon from the surface ocean into the deep sea every single year, making it one of the largest natural carbon storage systems on the entire planet, driven almost entirely by the quiet, continuous, unhurried fall of countless tiny particles, far too small to notice individually, yet vast enough, collectively. Scientists have come to call this entire mechanism the biological carbon pump, and it operates as a kind of slow, natural counterbalance to the carbon dioxide released into the atmosphere through other processes. Without it, scientists estimate that atmospheric carbon dioxide levels would be substantially higher than they are today, meaning that this quiet, patient snowfall, largely invisible and rarely considered by anyone outside a small community of ocean scientists, plays a genuinely significant role in keeping the broader climate of our entire planet within a range that has historically supported the kind of stable conditions life depends upon. Researchers continue to study exactly how efficient this pump is, and how it might change as ocean temperatures shift in the coming decades, since warmer surface waters tend to alter the size and the sinking speed of marine snow aggregates, potentially changing how much carbon ultimately reaches the deep sea floor, compared to how much is recycled back into the surface waters and atmosphere before it ever gets the chance to sink that far. Some researchers have begun exploring whether deliberately encouraging phytoplankton growth in certain regions of the open ocean might enhance this natural carbon pump, potentially offering a partial natural tool for addressing rising atmospheric carbon dioxide levels. These proposals remain controversial and largely experimental, since the ocean's chemistry and ecology are complex enough that intervening deliberately carries real risks of unintended consequences, difficult to fully predict in advance. For now, the biological pump continues its work quietly, exactly as it has for millions of years, without any need for human intervention at all, an ancient, self-sustaining system, running steadily in the background of our entire planet's climate, largely unnoticed by the vast majority of people whose lives it quietly helps to support. As marine snow falls deeper and deeper below the surface, it passes through a region of the ocean that scientists call the Twilight Zone, typically beginning around 200 meters down and extending to roughly 1,000 meters, where the last, faintest traces of sunlight finally disappear entirely. This is a strange in-between world, too dark for anything resembling ordinary plant life to survive, yet not quite as permanently, absolutely dark as the deep ocean floor far below it. It is also, somewhat surprisingly, believed to contain the largest collection of biomass anywhere on the entire planet, an almost unimaginable quantity of fish, squid, and other creatures, drifting quietly through this dim twilight world, largely hidden from human observation until fairly recently in scientific history. Many of the creatures living in this zone have evolved specifically around the presence of marine snow, drifting slowly upward each night in a massive coordinated movement scientists call diel vertical migration, rising toward the surface under the cover of darkness to feed, before retreating back down into deeper, safer water as dawn approaches. This nightly migration is now understood to be the single largest synchronized movement of animal biomass on the entire planet, larger even than the great migrations of wildebeest or caribou that occur on land. And yet it happens almost entirely unnoticed by humans, hidden beneath the surface of the ocean, repeating itself quietly every single night. Along the way, these migrating creatures encounter, and often consume, a significant portion of the marine snow drifting downward through their territory, effectively intercepting some of that falling carbon before it can complete its journey all the way to the seafloor, and instead incorporating it into their own bodies, before it eventually continues its slow journey as the creature's own remains, once its life in the Twilight Zone finally comes to an end. This interception happens at every level of the food chain simultaneously, a constantly shifting, layered relay, each participant briefly holding, using, and eventually releasing the same patient stream of carbon before passing it further downward, toward whatever destination awaits it next. In this way, marine snow does not simply fall in a straight, uninterrupted line from surface to seafloor. It is intercepted, transformed, and recycled repeatedly along the way, passing through the bodies of countless creatures, each one adding its own small chapter to the particle's long, patient journey downward, before finally, eventually, it settles, quietly, into the permanent darkness of the deep sea floor. This nightly migration was itself only discovered relatively recently, first noticed indirectly by naval researchers during the Second World War, who observed a strange, reflective layer detected by sonar equipment, a layer that seemed to rise toward the surface each night and sink back down again each morning. For some time, this puzzling signal was assumed to be some kind of unusual seafloor feature. It was only later that scientists correctly identified it as an enormous living layer of fish, squid, and other creatures, moving together in a vast, coordinated rhythm, tied closely to the daily cycle of light and darkness far above them. Understanding this migration has become increasingly important to scientists studying the ocean's broader carbon cycle, since the sheer scale of biomass involved means that even a modest shift in migration patterns, driven by changing ocean temperatures or changing patterns of marine snow production near the surface, could meaningfully alter how much carbon these creatures intercept and how much continues its slow, undisturbed fall all the way to the deep ocean floor. Not all marine snow looks the same, and its precise composition can tell scientists a great deal about the specific waters it fell through and the particular season in which it formed. Near the surface, in nutrient-rich waters where phytoplankton bloom in great abundance, marine snow tends to be relatively fresh and relatively rich in nutrients, still containing much of its original organic material by the time it reaches even moderate depths. In other regions, where surface waters are comparatively barren, marine snow forms more slowly and tends to be thinner and more heavily processed by bacteria by the time it reaches any significant depth at all. Certain events near the surface can produce dramatic, short-lived surges in the amount of marine snow falling through the water column. A sudden bloom of phytoplankton, triggered by a seasonal increase in available nutrients, can die off just as quickly as it began, sending a thick, concentrated pulse of fresh organic material sinking downward all at once, a phenomenon researchers sometimes describe, quite vividly, as a marine snowstorm. These pulses can be detected clearly by scientific instruments moored at various depths throughout the water column, recording sudden, sharp increases in falling particulate matter that closely track the timing of surface blooms occurring, in some cases, thousands of meters above. Marine snow also frequently carries within it the remains of a particular group of organisms called diatoms, a type of phytoplankton that builds an intricate, glass-like shell out of silica, extracted patiently from the surrounding seawater. When diatoms die, their delicate glass shells often sink largely intact, becoming embedded within larger marine snow aggregates, eventually settling onto the seafloor, where they can remain remarkably well preserved for an extraordinarily long time. Layer upon layer of these tiny glass shells, accumulating patiently over thousands and even millions of years, form thick deposits of sediment on certain parts of the ocean floor, sediment that scientists can later drill into, extracting long, continuous cores that function almost like a patient, natural diary of the ocean's history, each layer recording, in remarkable detail, the conditions of the surface waters exactly as long, slow fall. Other organisms contribute their own distinctive signatures to this patient record as well. Coccolithophores, a different type of phytoplankton, build tiny, intricate plates of calcium carbonate around themselves, plates that also settle, layer upon layer, into the sediment below, forming thick deposits of chalky material in certain regions of the ocean floor, remarkably similar in composition to the white chalk cliffs found along certain coastlines here on land, formed from the same patient, quiet process of marine snow settling, one microscopic shell at a time, across many millions of years. Standing at the base of such a cliff, running a hand along its pale, chalky surface, it is worth remembering that every inch of that rock was once alive, in the smallest, quietest sense possible, a single organism drifting near a long-vanished, ancient sea surface before dying and sinking, and finally settling into what would eventually become solid stone. In some parts of the world, Entire islands and coastal formations owe their existence to this patient accumulation, built up gradually from countless generations of these tiny drifting shells, compressed slowly over millions of years into rock solid enough to eventually rise above the surface of the water itself. Walking along such a coastline, it is easy to forget that the very ground underfoot began its existence not as rock at all, but as something closer to falling snow, drifting gently downward through ancient, long-vanished seas, one microscopic particle at a time, patiently, unhurried, across a span of time longer than almost anything else our minds can comfortably hold. You are lying very still now. The day has grown distant. The thoughts that pressed close earlier have begun to soften at their edges. Your breathing has found its own pace, slow, easy, unhurried. And as you rest here, I want you to imagine sinking, very gently, into deep, dark water, far below the reach of any sunlight. There is no sound here, only the faint, distant pressure of the water around you, and a soft, endless drift of pale, tiny particles falling slowly past you in every direction, like snow caught in the beam of a single, quiet light. Some of these particles are barely visible, tiny flecks catching just enough light to shimmer faintly before disappearing back into the darkness below. Others are slightly larger, drifting more slowly, tumbling gently end over end as they continue their long, patient journey downward. There is no wind here to hurry them along. There is no urgency in their descent at all. Each flake simply falls, exactly as slowly as it needs to, taking days, sometimes weeks, sometimes far longer, to complete its journey to the quiet floor of the ocean, far below. Imagine yourself sinking alongside this gentle snowfall, weightless, unhurried, matching its slow, patient pace exactly. There is nowhere you need to arrive quickly tonight. There is no version of this journey that rewards rushing. The water holds you gently, the way it holds every flake of marine snow, drifting alongside you, supporting your weight so completely that no effort is required at all, simply to continue sinking, slowly, deeper into calm, quiet darkness. Let your body borrow that same weightlessness now. Let your arms grow heavy, and still, resting exactly where they are. Let your legs soften, sinking deeper into the bed beneath you, the way a flake of marine snow sinks deeper into the dark, quiet water surrounding it. Somewhere far below you, in the permanent darkness of the deep seafloor, countless creatures wait patiently for this same gentle snowfall to arrive, in no hurry themselves, accustomed to a rhythm of life far slower and far more patient than anything experienced near the sunlit surface far above. And you, resting here tonight, are allowed to borrow that same patience, sinking gently, without effort, without hurry, toward the quiet, restful floor of your own sleep, exactly as slowly as you need to. Notice how little effort any of this seems to require. The particles around you are not straining to fall. The water is not working to hold them. Everything here simply follows its own natural, unhurried tendency, drifting exactly where gravity and time and patience gently guided. There is no part of this slow, quiet descent that feels forced or rushed or effortful in any way. It simply happens, gradually, the way your own breath is happening right now, without you needing to think about it, without you needing to manage it in any way at all. Let that same effortless quality settle into your shoulders now. Let it settle into your hands, resting quietly, wherever they happen to be. Let it settle into your legs, heavy, warm, sinking further into the softness beneath you, exactly the way a flake of marine snow sinks further into the calm, quiet water surrounding it, needing nothing at all, except permission to continue its own slow, natural descent. Notice, too, the quiet company surrounding you in this imagined dark, not crowded, not overwhelming, simply present, other particles drifting nearby at their own pace, some slightly ahead, some slightly behind, none of them competing, none of them hurrying past the others, simply sharing the same unhurried journey downward, together, in their own quiet, separate ways. Among the countless creatures that depend on marine snow, few are as strange, or as important, as a small, tadpole-shaped animal called a larvacean. Larvaceans are found throughout the world's oceans, and despite their small size, rarely longer than a few centimeters, they play an outsized role in the story of marine snow, thanks to an extraordinary structure they build for themselves, called a mucus house. Using specialized glands, a larvacean secretes a delicate, transparent structure made almost entirely of mucus, sometimes many times larger than the animal's own body, filled with a complex network of internal filters, finer than anything a spider could ever spin. The larvacean sits at the center of this structure, pumping water through it with rhythmic movements of its tail, drawing in tiny particles of food, phytoplankton, and other microscopic debris, filtered efficiently by the mucus house's intricate internal structure. But these remarkable structures do not last long. Within a matter of hours, the fine filters of a larvacean's mucus house become clogged with debris, no longer able to filter water efficiently. When this happens, the larvacean simply abandons its house entirely and swims a short distance away, immediately beginning to secrete an entirely new one, leaving the old, discarded structure behind, still filled with concentrated debris, to sink slowly downward through the water column. These abandoned mucus houses, sometimes called larvacean houses, are surprisingly large and surprisingly dense, and scientists have found that they can sink far more rapidly than ordinary, loosely aggregated marine snow, sometimes reaching depths of several hundred meters within a single day, carrying with them a concentrated, nutrient-rich package of organic material, harvested efficiently from the sunlit surface waters above. In certain regions of the ocean, larvaceans are so abundant and so productive that their discarded mucus houses are believed to account for a substantial portion of all the carbon transported from the surface into the deep sea. An extraordinary contribution from a creature that most people have never even heard of, quietly building and discarding and rebuilding these elaborate temporary structures over and over again throughout the deep, dark floor of the ocean far below. Scientists studying larvaceans have found that a single individual may construct and abandon several new mucus houses within a single day, meaning that a healthy population of larvaceans in a productive patch of ocean can generate an extraordinary quantity of these dense, sinking structures continuously, day after day, throughout an entire season. Because these houses sink so much faster than ordinary marine snow, they are believed to play a disproportionately important role in delivering fresh, relatively undecomposed organic material directly to deeper parts of the water column, before slower-moving bacteria have had much opportunity to break it down along the way. This means that larvaceans, despite their small size and famously short lifespan, often living only a few weeks in total, function as remarkably efficient engineers of the ocean's carbon cycle, transforming diffuse, difficult to capture organic material near the surface into dense, rapidly sinking packages, delivered with unusual speed and unusual efficiency into the patient darkness of the deep sea below. Some species of larvaceans construct houses of extraordinary complexity, with multiple nested chambers, each one serving a distinct filtering function, capturing particles of different sizes at different stages as water passes through. Researchers studying these structures closely, using specialized cameras capable of observing them without disturbing their extremely delicate architecture, have described them as among the most intricate structures built by any animal on the entire planet. Remarkable not for their permanence, since each one lasts only a matter of hours, but for the sheer patient repetition of their construction, built, used briefly, and discarded over and over again, thousands of times across a single larvacean's short life. Eventually, after days, weeks, or sometimes years of slow, patient descent, marine snow finally reaches the seafloor, settling gently onto sediment that may have been accumulating, layer upon layer, for millions of years. For the creatures living on the deep ocean floor, far beyond the reach of any sunlight, this slow, steady rain of organic material represents nearly the entire foundation of their food supply. Sea cucumbers, gently moving across the seafloor, ingest sediment directly, extracting whatever nutritional value remains within the settled marine snow, before excreting the processed sediment behind them, leaving distinctive trails across the otherwise smooth, undisturbed ocean floor. Brittle stars, delicate relatives of starfish, extend their thin, flexible arms directly into the water column above them, capturing marine snow before it even has the chance to settle, filtering a constant, gentle supply of falling particles out of the surrounding current. Certain species of deep-sea fish and crustaceans patrol the seafloor slowly, sensing and consuming larger aggregates of marine snow as they encounter them, supplementing their diet with whatever occasional larger meal happens to drift down from far above. The body of a dead fish, perhaps, or an entire whale carcass, sinking down from the surface in a single dramatic event scientists call a whale fall. When a whale dies and sinks to the deep ocean floor, its enormous body can support an entire complex ecosystem for decades, an intense, temporary feast that gradually transitions, over many years, from large scavengers stripping away flesh, to smaller specialized creatures capable of breaking down bone itself, extracting the last remaining nutrients from what remains, long after the initial dramatic feeding has ended. Whale falls are, in a sense, an extreme, concentrated version of the same basic principle that governs ordinary marine snow, a delivery of organic material from the productive, sunlit surface world, down into the patient, resource-limited darkness of the deep seafloor, sustaining life in a place that could never produce enough food entirely on its own. Without this constant, patient supply, whether arriving as fine, drifting snow, or as the occasional dramatic gift of an entire whale carcass, the deep ocean floor would be an almost entirely lifeless place, a vast, dark desert stretching for miles in every direction. The discovery of whale falls themselves is a relatively recent chapter in ocean science, first documented in detail only in the 1980s, when researchers using deep-sea submersibles happened upon a whale skeleton resting on the seafloor and were astonished to find it teeming with an entire community of specialized creatures, many of which had never been observed anywhere else, seemingly adapted specifically to a way of life that depends entirely on the periodic, unpredictable arrival of a single, enormous carcass. Since that first discovery, scientists have identified dozens of species that appear to specialize almost exclusively in whale falls, including certain worms that live only within whale bones, extracting nutrients from the bone itself using bacteria housed within their own bodies. These specialized ecosystems can persist for decades at a single whale fall site, gradually working through the enormous store of nutrients contained within one whale's remains, before the ecosystem eventually fades, its inhabitants dispersing once again into the surrounding darkness, waiting patiently for the next such gift to arrive, sometime, somewhere, in the vast, dark expanse of the seafloor around them. Studying marine snow presents a particular challenge for scientists, because the very act of observing it can easily disturb the delicate, loosely held together particles researchers are trying to study. Traditional water sampling methods, involving pumps or nets dragged through the water column, tend to break apart the fragile aggregates almost immediately, destroying much of the very structure scientists are hoping to examine. To overcome this, researchers developed a range of specialized tools designed to observe marine snow gently and with minimal disturbance. Some of the earliest and still most valuable tools are sediment traps, simple funnel-shaped devices moored at various depths throughout the water column, patiently collecting falling particles over periods ranging from days to many months, allowing scientists to measure precisely how much marine snow is falling at a given depth and how its composition changes throughout different seasons of the year. More recently, specialized underwater cameras, sometimes towed slowly behind research vessels and sometimes mounted on remotely operated submersibles, have allowed scientists to observe marine snow directly, undisturbed, drifting naturally through its own environment, revealing details about its structure, its abundance, and its interactions with deep-sea creatures that earlier sampling methods could never have captured. Some of the most advanced instruments now use a technique called holographic imaging, capturing detailed three-dimensional images of individual marine snow particles as they drift naturally past a stationary camera, allowing researchers to study the precise shape, size, and internal structure of these delicate aggregates without ever physically touching them at all. Submersibles, both crewed and remotely operated, have also allowed scientists to witness marine snow directly, descending slowly through the water column exactly as human observers, watching from behind a small, thick window, illuminated only by the submersible's own lights. Many of the scientists who have made this journey personally describe the experience in strikingly similar terms: a slow, continuous drift of pale particles, passing silently in every direction, for the entire multi-hour descent toward the ocean floor. An experience several early oceanographers compared directly to driving through a gentle, unending snowfall, which is, of course, precisely where the phenomenon first earned its now familiar name. In more recent years, autonomous underwater vehicles, unmanned robotic devices capable of diving to great depths without any human crew on board, have expanded scientists' ability to study marine snow across far larger areas of ocean and over far longer periods of time than any single submersible expedition could ever achieve. These autonomous vehicles can be programmed to descend slowly through the water column, recording detailed measurements at regular intervals before surfacing again to transmit their data back to researchers waiting patiently on a research vessel above. Some newer instruments even use artificial intelligence to automatically identify and classify individual marine snow particles from thousands of images captured during a single dive, dramatically speeding up a process that once required researchers to examine each image manually, one at a time, a task that could easily consume weeks or months of careful patient analysis for even a single research expedition's worth of data. Even with all of this modern technology, researchers emphasize that direct, in-person observation remains genuinely valuable, precisely because so much about marine snow depends on subtle, contextual details that automated systems can still struggle to capture reliably. The exact way a fragile aggregate tumbles as it falls, or the precise moment a small crustacean darts out from the surrounding darkness to intercept a particularly promising flake before it drifts any further downward. For this reason, crewed submersible dives continue to play an important role in marine snow research, even as robotic and autonomous technology steadily expands what scientists are able to observe across broader areas and over far longer stretches of time than any single human observer could ever manage alone. Peering out through a small, thick window into the patient, endless dark, there is something quietly humbling about the work involved in all of this. Entire careers built around the patient observation of something most people will never see or even think about for even a single moment in their lives. And yet, without this careful, patient study, we would understand almost nothing about one of the largest, most consequential natural processes on the entire planet. A process that quietly shapes global climate, sustains entire ecosystems, and connects the sunlit surface of the ocean to its darkest, most remote depths, all through the simple, unhurried fall of countless tiny particles, drifting downward, one at a time, exactly as they have for longer than any human record can trace. The patient accumulation of marine snow onto the ocean floor has, over millions of years, created something remarkably valuable to scientists studying the history of our entire planet. In certain quiet, undisturbed regions of the deep ocean, sediment builds up incredibly slowly, sometimes only a few centimeters accumulating across an entire 1,000 years, meaning that a sediment core just a few meters long can preserve a continuous, undisturbed record stretching back hundreds of thousands, or even millions of years into the past. Within these layers, scientists can identify subtle changes in the chemical composition of ancient marine snow, changes that correspond closely to shifts in ocean temperature, ocean chemistry, and even the broader climate of the entire planet, occurring at the precise moment each particular layer of sediment was originally deposited. The tiny glass shells of diatoms and the equally durable shells of another group of microscopic organisms called foraminifera are especially valuable in this kind of research because their chemical composition subtly shifts depending on the temperature and chemistry of the water they lived in, before eventually dying and sinking as marine snow, and finally settling into the sediment layer that would later preserve them. By drilling deep into these sediment layers and carefully analyzing the chemical composition of shells recovered from each distinct depth, scientists have been able to reconstruct a surprisingly detailed record of Earth's climate, stretching back through multiple ice ages and multiple warm periods, allowing researchers to understand, with remarkable precision, how our planet's climate has shifted gradually over enormous stretches of time, long before any human being existed to measure it directly. This entire body of scientific knowledge exists only because of the patient, continuous fall of marine snow, drifting downward, one tiny particle at a time, across millions of years, each individual flake contributing an almost immeasurably small piece to what eventually became an extraordinarily detailed and extraordinarily valuable record of our planet's own deep history, written not in any book, but in layer upon patient layer of ancient, settled ocean sediment. Perhaps the most famous example of this kind of research comes from sediment cores recovered from the seafloor of the tropical Pacific, where scientists have identified clear, repeating patterns corresponding to a natural climate cycle known as El Niño, stretching back many thousands of years before written records of any kind existed. In other regions, sediment cores have revealed clear evidence of dramatic, ancient climate shifts, including the abrupt cooling associated with past ice ages, and the equally dramatic warming that followed as each ice age eventually came to an end. Some of the longest, most continuous sediment cores ever recovered extend back several million years, offering scientists an almost unbroken record of Earth's climate stretching across multiple entire ice age cycles, each one recorded, patiently, in the chemistry of ancient shells that once drifted, briefly, as marine snow, through waters that no longer exist in anything like their original form today. Scientists have also learned to read subtler signals within these ancient layers, tiny variations in the ratio of different oxygen isotopes, preserved within ancient shells, which can reveal not just the temperature of the water a particular organism lived in, but also broader information about how much of the planet's water was locked away in ice at any given point in Earth's distant past. Layer by patient layer, a sediment core essentially becomes a slow, continuous instrument, recording conditions that no human observer was ever present to witness directly, translated instead through the quiet chemistry of shells that drifted briefly as marine snow, long before falling still, and settling gently into what would eventually become a permanent, patient archive of the planet's own deep memory. Not all of the organic material contained within marine snow survives its long journey to the seafloor. Along the way, bacteria play an absolutely critical role in slowly breaking down this falling material, consuming it gradually as it drifts, releasing nutrients back into the surrounding water at every depth the particle happens to pass through. In fact, a single flake of marine snow can host an extraordinarily dense, active community of bacteria, sometimes containing more individual bacterial cells within a single small aggregate than exist in an equivalent volume of ordinary, open seawater. These bacteria essentially transform each flake of marine snow into a tiny self-contained ecosystem, complete with its own internal chemistry, and in some cases, even its own distinct oxygen levels, differing meaningfully from the surrounding water immediately outside the aggregate itself. As bacteria consume the organic material within a flake of marine snow, they gradually reduce its overall density and structural integrity, meaning that a single flake might slow considerably during its descent, or even break apart entirely into smaller fragments, each one continuing to sink independently at its own particular pace. Some of these bacterial processes also produce a faint, natural glow, a phenomenon known as bioluminescence, adding an unexpected, quiet beauty to certain patches of marine snow, particularly within the Twilight Zone, where the surrounding darkness makes even the faintest glow clearly visible. Many creatures living within the Twilight Zone have evolved the ability to detect this faint bioluminescent glow specifically, using it to locate marine snow more efficiently in the darkness, essentially following a trail of quiet, natural light toward a potential meal. Some deep-sea creatures have taken this relationship even further, evolving specialized light-producing organs of their own, used specifically to illuminate marine snow directly in front of them as they swim, allowing them to visually identify and capture drifting particles that would otherwise remain completely invisible in the absolute darkness surrounding them. In this way, even in a world defined almost entirely by darkness, marine snow occasionally carries with it small, quiet points of light, faint traces of bioluminescent decay, marking its slow, patient passage through the deep, dark water, visible only to the creatures patient enough and adapted enough to notice them drifting by. Researchers studying this bioluminescent decay have found that the specific chemistry involved varies, depending on which particular species of bacteria happen to be present within a given flake, meaning that different patches of marine snow can glow with subtly different colors and intensities, an entire hidden palette of quiet, natural light, scattered invisibly throughout the Twilight Zone, far beyond the reach of any human eye unless viewed through the sensitive cameras carried aboard specialized research submersibles. Some scientists have even suggested that this faint decay-driven glow may serve an additional, unexpected purpose potentially warning nearby predators away from a particular patch of water, or alternatively, drawing certain scavengers directly toward a meal, depending on the particular ecological relationships at play in that specific region of ocean. A quiet, glowing negotiation playing out constantly in the surface of the world far above. Even the slow, patient decay itself, invisible bacteria quietly at work within a single falling flake, becomes, in its own small way, a source of light in a place otherwise defined entirely by darkness, a reminder that even the quietest, least noticed processes can carry within them something worth briefly, softly, glowing about. At the very deepest parts of the ocean, in a region scientists call the Twilight Zone, extending down to depths of 10 kilometers or more, marine snow continues to fall, even here, at pressures so extreme they would instantly crush most ordinary submarines, in water so cold and so completely without light that the environment feels almost more alien than anything found on the surface of another planet. The Mariana Trench, the deepest known point in all of Earth's oceans, plunges to a depth of nearly 11 kilometers. And yet, even at the very bottom of this extraordinary trench, scientific instruments have detected marine snow steadily accumulating, carrying with it organic material that began its journey in the sunlit waters far, far above, sometimes taking well over a year to complete the entire descent. Remarkably, life persists even at these extreme depths, sustained almost entirely by this same, patient supply of falling organic material. Scientists studying sediment recovered from the deepest parts of the Mariana Trench have identified surprisingly diverse communities of bacteria and small invertebrates, adapted specifically to survive on the thin, but steady, supply of marine snow drifting down from the productive waters far above. Some of these Twilight Zone bacteria have evolved specialized enzymes capable of functioning normally under pressures that would instantly destroy the proteins of any ordinary surface-dwelling organism, allowing them to slowly process the falling organic material, exactly as their relatives do in far shallower, less extreme parts of the ocean. This means that the influence of marine snow extends, quite literally, from the very surface of the ocean, all the way down to its absolute deepest point, a single continuous system connecting the sunlit world where phytoplankton grow, to the crushing, permanent darkness of the Twilight Zone, more than 10 kilometers below. It is a remarkable thought that a single drop of sunlight, captured briefly by a microscopic organism near the surface, might eventually complete its journey by settling gently into sediment at the absolute bottom of the deepest trench on the entire planet, carrying with it a small, patient trace of that original sunlight, transformed now into organic matter, nourishing life in a place further from the surface than the height of Mount Everest is tall. Descending into the Twilight Zone remains one of the most technically demanding challenges in all of ocean exploration, requiring specialized vessels capable of withstanding pressures exceeding 1,000 times what is experienced at the ocean's surface. Only a small handful of crude submersibles have ever successfully reached the very deepest point of the Mariana Trench, a location known as Challenger Deep, and each of those journeys required years of careful engineering to accomplish safely. Despite these extraordinary challenges, the researchers who have made the descent consistently report the same quiet observation, that even at the absolute bottom of the ocean, in conditions more extreme than almost anywhere else on the entire planet, life persists, sustained by nothing more dramatic than the same patient, unhurried snowfall that begins its journey in the sunlit waters many kilometers above, a single stim depths. In recent years, researchers have also discovered surprising quantities of plastic debris intermingled with marine snow, even at these extreme Twilight depths, a sobering reminder that the same currents carrying natural organic material down into the deepest trenches are also capable of carrying material that never belonged there in the first place. Studying these unwelcome new arrivals has become an important, if somewhat troubling, extension of marine snow research, helping scientists understand not only how nutrients move through this ancient natural system, but also how far-reaching human influence has become, extending, apparently, even into the most remote, most inaccessible corner of the entire planet. There is a quiet symmetry worth noticing between the endless, patient fall of marine snow through the deep ocean and the endless, patient drift of dust through the space between the stars. Both are made from the remains of something that once lived, or once burned, slowly transformed and scattered, drifting for long stretches of time before finally settling somewhere new, nourishing whatever waits patiently below or beyond to receive it. Both processes operate almost entirely outside of human perception, invisible to us in our ordinary daily lives. And yet both are quietly essential to systems vastly larger than any single observer could ever fully appreciate. This comparison is not simply poetic. The deep ocean and the depths of interstellar space share a surprising number of physical similarities: extreme cold, extreme pressure, or extreme vacuum, and above all, complete and total darkness, broken only occasionally by faint, scattered light, whether starlight bending gently around a passing shadow, or the faint bioluminescent glow of bacteria slowly consuming a falling flake of marine snow. In both places, life, where it exists at all, has learned to depend not on abundance, but on patience, adapting to accept the slow, steady, unhurried trickle of resources, rather than the constant abundance enjoyed by organisms living closer to the surface, or closer to the warmth of a star. Scientists studying extreme environments here on Earth, including the deep ocean floor, often use these environments specifically as models for understanding how life might exist elsewhere in the universe. On the icy moons of distant planets, for example, where subsurface oceans, warmed only by internal geological heat and kept alive only by an equally slow, patient supply of falling organic material, might support life in conditions remarkably similar to the deep sea floor. In this way, understanding the quiet, patient fall of marine snow does not only teach us about our own oceans, it offers a small, useful window into how life itself might function, patiently, quietly, and successfully, in some of the darkest, most resource-limited environments imaginable, whether at the bottom of our own ocean, or somewhere else entirely, drifting quietly through the dark, waiting patiently for its own slow supply of nourishment to arrive. Some researchers studying the icy moons of the outer solar system, places like Europa and Enceladus, believed to hide vast oceans of liquid water beneath thick shells of surface ice, have proposed that similar processes might occur there as well. A slow, patient rain of organic material sinking through those hidden alien oceans, sustaining whatever life might exist deep beneath the ice, entirely disconnected from any sunlight the deep ocean floor here on Earth. Whether or not life actually exists in those distant, hidden oceans remains one of the great open questions of modern science. But the fact that our own planet's deep sea offers a working, observable example of exactly this kind of patient, light-independent ecosystem gives researchers genuine reason to consider the possibility seriously, rather than dismissing it as pure speculation. Missions currently being planned to explore these icy moons more directly, sending spacecraft to study their surface ice, and perhaps, eventually, drill through it entirely, are designed in part with exactly this question in mind, hoping to find, somewhere beneath miles of frozen crust, a slow, patient snowfall of their own, sustaining a form of life shaped by darkness and cold entirely unlike the deep ocean floor resting quietly beneath the surface of our own, familiar planet. As we come gently toward the end of our time together tonight, let us sit for a moment with the quiet patience of marine snow. A single flake, drifting downward through miles of dark, silent water, does not hurry. It cannot hurry, even if it wanted to. It simply falls, exactly as slowly as its size and shape, and the water around it allow, taking days, weeks, sometimes an entire year, to complete a journey of only a few miles. And yet, this unhurried pace is not a flaw in the system. It is precisely why the system works at all. If marine snow fell too quickly, bacteria would have no time to process it along the way, and the delicate, layered ecosystem of the Twilight Zone would lose much of its food supply entirely. If it fell too slowly, it might never reach the deep sea floor at all, breaking apart and dissolving completely before completing its journey. The pace is exactly, precisely right, shaped patiently by millions of years of quiet evolutionary refinement, arriving at a rhythm that nourishes every layer of the ocean it passes through, from the Twilight Zone all the way down to the permanent darkness of the deepest trench. There is a gentle lesson hidden in that patient rhythm, if you are willing to rest with it for a moment tonight. Not every process needs to happen quickly to be meaningful. Not every journey needs to be rushed to arrive somewhere worthwhile. Some of the most important systems on this entire planet, the slow fall of marine snow, the patient accumulation of sediment, the gradual, gentle work of an entire ecosystem quietly sustaining itself, one small particle at a time, depend entirely on things happening slowly, exactly as slowly as they need to. You are allowed that same unhurried pace tonight. You do not need to rush towards sleep. You do not need to force your thoughts to settle all at once. You can simply let them drift downward, slowly, gently, the way a flake of marine snow drifts through calm, quiet water, taking exactly as long as it needs, trusting completely that it will, eventually, softly, arrive. Consider for a moment how much quiet trust is built into this entire system. Even though nothing within it is capable of trust in any conscious sense at all, a flake of marine snow does not know that bacteria will consume it gradually as it falls. It does not know that a larvacean's mucus house will carry it swiftly downward, or that a brittle star's outstretched arm will catch it before it ever reaches the seafloor at all. It simply falls, and whatever happens along the way, happens exactly as it needs to, shaped patiently by millions of years of gradual, unhurried evolution across an entire, interconnected ecosystem. There is something worth borrowing in that, even for a mind capable of worry, capable of planning, capable of turning tomorrow over and over in the quiet hours before sleep. Not every outcome needs to be controlled tonight. Not every thought needs to be resolved before you allow yourself to rest. Some things are simply allowed to fall, slowly, trusting the process, the way marine snow trusts nothing at all, and yet somehow, across millions of years, has always found exactly where it needed to be. As we slowly rise back now, from the deep, quiet floor of the ocean, from the Twilight Zone, where countless creatures wait patiently in the dark, from the gentle, endless snowfall that connects the sunlit surface to the permanent darkness far below, let everything we explored together tonight settle gently into your mind. We began with a single flake, forming near the sunlit surface, and followed its long, patient descent through miles of dark, quiet water. We learned how an entire ecosystem depends on this slow, steady rhythm, from the tiny, elaborate mucus houses of larvaceans, to the massive, temporary feast of a whale fall, to the patient bacteria breaking everything down, one small particle at a time. We thought about scientists descending in small, quiet submersibles, watching this same gentle snowfall drift silently past their windows, exactly as it has drifted for millions of years before them. And we considered how this same patient, unhurried process has quietly written a detailed record of our planet's entire climate history, layer by patient layer, into the undisturbed sediment of the deep ocean floor. Through all of it, one idea remained close. Nothing here needs to hurry. The ocean does not rush its own slow, patient work, and neither should you tonight. There is nothing more you need to hold on to right now. Let that snow continue its slow, gentle fall, somewhere far beneath you, in the quiet dark of the deep sea. Let whatever thoughts remain from today drift downward too, just as gently, just as unhurried. And let yourself sink deeper into a slow, patient rest of your own. Exactly the kind of rest you are allowed tonight, without needing to reach it quickly, without needing to hurry toward it at all. Somewhere, right now, countless flakes of marine snow are beginning their own quiet descent near sunlit surface waters scattered across the entire planet, each one starting a journey that will take days, or weeks, or sometimes far longer, to complete. And somewhere else, deep below, other flakes are finally arriving, settling gently onto sediment that has been patiently accumulating for millions of years, becoming, in some small way, part of the permanent record of this planet's long, quiet history. This has been happening for longer than there have been humans to notice it, and it will continue happening, unhurried and unnoticed by almost everyone, long after tonight has become tomorrow, and tomorrow has become simply another quiet, ordinary day. There is a certain comfort in that continuity, in knowing that this slow, patient rhythm carries on regardless of whatever happened during your own day, regardless of whatever is waiting for you tomorrow. The ocean does not pause its work to wait for anyone, and in a strange way, that quiet indifference can feel like relief rather than loneliness. a reminder that the world continues its own steady, patient course, entirely capable of holding itself together, even while you allow yourself, fully, to rest. Somewhere below the surface tonight, a larvacean is quietly abandoning a mucus house, already beginning to build another. Somewhere else, a brittle star is slowly extending its arms into the current, waiting patiently for the next flake to drift within reach. And somewhere far below both of them, in the permanent darkness of the deepest trench, sediment is settling, one particle at a time, exactly as it has for millions of years, and exactly as it will continue to, long after tonight has quietly become tomorrow. If you are still here with us, another quiet journey is waiting for you, on some other evening soon. And if tonight's journey helped carry you a little closer to sleep, a like, a subscribe, or a gentle comment helps other tired minds find their way here too. There is nothing left to think about tonight. There is nothing left to plan, or solve, or worry over. Just this quiet room, this soft darkness, and the slow, steady rhythm of your own breathing, carrying you gently further and further from the day that has already, quietly, let you go. Somewhere far beneath the surface of the ocean, invisible in the darkness, marine snow continues its slow, patient fall, drifting gently downward, exactly as it has for millions of years, taking exactly as long as it needs to take. You are allowed that same patience tonight. You do not need to hurry towards sleep. You only need to let go, gently, the way a single flake sinks slowly through calm, quiet water, drifting, without effort, until it finally, softly, comes to rest. Let your body remain heavy and warm and still. Let your thoughts continue to soften and slow and drift apart, the way delicate particles dissolve gently into the dark, patient water surrounding them. Whatever tomorrow holds, it can wait. Whatever remains unfinished tonight can wait too. Resting quietly, exactly where you left it, the way an unfinished flake of marine snow simply continues falling, unbothered, toward wherever it happens to be going. Think back, for a moment, to where this journey began tonight, with a single, microscopic particle forming quietly near the sunlit surface, beginning a long, unhurried descent through miles of dark, patient water. That particle did not need to understand where it was going, or how long the journey would take, or what waited for it at the bottom. It simply drifted, trusting nothing at all, and yet arriving, eventually, exactly where it needed to be. You are allowed that same trust tonight, drifting gently, without needing to understand exactly how or when sleep will arrive. Simply trusting that it will, the way it always has, the way marine snow always eventually reaches the quiet, patient floor of the sea. There is nothing left to figure out tonight. There is nothing left to plan, or arrange, or worry into place before you allow yourself to rest. The particles will keep falling whether you think about them or not. The ocean will keep doing its slow, patient work whether you are awake to consider it or not. All that is asked of you, right now, is exactly what is asked of a single flake of marine snow. Nothing at all beyond simply continuing to drift, softly, downward, toward wherever rest happens to be waiting for you tonight. Let this be enough for now. Let the quiet weight of everything we have traveled through together tonight, the falling snow, the patient bacteria, the quiet creatures waiting in the dark, settle gently around you, undemanding, unhurried, asking nothing more of you than simple, patient rest, exactly as it is, exactly as you are, right here, right now. From the sleep journal, and from one tired mind to another, across the soft, patient dark of tonight. Sleep well, rest gently, and good night.